To quote the TV show The X-Files, the truth is out there. So when once secret intelligence records about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy were released not long ago, was the truth actually in there? Erin Moriarty is on the case.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that
This past spring, a congressional task force led by Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida held hearings on Capitol Hill.
For over 6 decades, questions have lingered, shrouded in secrecy and speculation.
Top of the agenda, what newly released government records reveal about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Mr. Jefferson Morley.
Jefferson Morley waited 30 years for this moment.
The CIA destroyed a lot of records related to President Kennedy's assassination.
This was kind of a dream come true for you, wasn't it? To be able to, after all this time, be able to tell the American public what you had found?
Yes, it was. It was a great honor.
Morley is a researcher and editor of JFK Files, a newsletter on Substack dedicated to the JFK assassination.
This event, the President of the United States is shot dead in broad daylight and no one's ever brought to justice for the crime. That's something people still care about.
Since 1995, the former Washington Post reporter has been on a singular mission to push the government to release every document related to the death of the 35th president.
Why are they hiding the names of dead men? Because they have something to hide.
Morley is consumed with the story, even though he remembers little about November 22, 1963.
3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas.
I was in kindergarten, but I remember my family watching the TV all weekend.
The events of that day, along with eyewitness accounts, were forever captured on film.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
The official version of the shooting came from a 1964 report issued by the Warren Commission that concluded the president was killed by a single bullet fired by 24-year-old former Marine Lee Harvey Oswald, and that Oswald was then killed 2 days later
Oswald has been shot
by Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby.
Why was Kennedy killed? Who benefited? Who has the power to cover it up?
And then, 28 years later, the film JFK was released.
Oliver Stone's 1991 film JFK was a game changer.
Mark Updegrove is a historian and author of a book about JFK's presidency, Incomparable Grace.
This is a major filmmaker with a blockbuster movie at the time, offering the notion that there was a much greater conspiracy at work. And I think that fundamentally changed the way we thought about the murder of John F. Kennedy.
There are hundreds of documents that could help prove this conspiracy. Why are they being withheld or burned by the government?
The star-studded movie centered on former New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, played by Kevin Costner, who believed Kennedy's assassination was part of a wide conspiracy involving the CIA and the mafia.
Kings are killed, Mr. Garrison. Politics is power, nothing more.
While the film was largely discounted by historians, public pressure led Congress to pass the JFK Records Act in 1992, ordering the release of all government records on the Kennedy assassination. And that's when Jefferson Morley, a seasoned reporter, began his own search for answers.
Because it's a great story. And because people weren't attacking it in a disciplined, journalistic way, I kind of have the story to myself.
Morley, from his apartment in Washington, D.C., says he never guessed he'd still be working the story 30 years later.
And this is all JFK.
Yeah. So you'll see here, we go day by day or week by week through 1963.
Morley estimates that 4 to 5 million pages of records have now been released.
Look at this is handwriting you have to get through. There's redactions you have to go through. That would make me crazy.
It does make you crazy, and you have to be very patient.
Morley says records show what the CIA kept from the Warren Commission, that the agency had been monitoring Oswald's behavior for years, tracking his travel, reading his mail.
We never understood before now how pervasive the surveillance of Oswald was. This guy was watched for 4 years. People at the top of the CIA knew what he was doing. They knew about his contacts. They knew about his personal life.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet.
The official story that one man alone killed the president for no reason, we know that's not true. Lee Harvey Oswald was not a lone nut. He was a known quantity to top CIA officers right before President Kennedy went to Dallas. We need an explanation of that story, and we still don't have it.
Morley's patience seemed to be finally paying off when even more documents were released.
A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades.
Following President Donald Trump's executive order this past January.
And everything will be revealed.
And what did those documents reveal?
The attitude of obstruction and obfuscation from the CIA started on November 22nd, 1963, and that attitude, unfortunately, has continued to the present day.
What was clear from the congressional hearing that followed in April is that there are still no bombshells, nothing to conclusively contradict the official story of the assassination. Still, according to Morley, there is more evidence that the CIA buried what it knew about Oswald. But why?
So if, in fact, the CIA had been watching Lee Harvey Oswald and they didn't realize that he was about to assassinate a president, that's very embarrassing. Couldn't that just be the only reason why they hid all that information?
That's one.
Incompetence.
There is no CIA official who has ever said that.
As far as I can see, there's nothing that changes the conclusion that Oswald acted alone in the assassination.
It might surprise you to hear that Leon Panetta is as curious as the rest of us to learn what's in CIA records, since Panetta ran the agency from 2009 through 2011 under President Barack Obama.
Wouldn't you know as a former director?
Not really, because frankly, when you're a director of the CIA, you're pretty much focused on the threats that you have to deal with in the world that you're in.
But Panetta says the CIA is often concerned that releasing documents, even after decades, can jeopardize agency assets.
Was there a legitimate concern that they were trying to protect, or was there something more sinister? And you know what? We really don't know the answer to that question.
So you don't rule out the idea that there might be something more sinister. You're just saying there's no evidence of that.
That's correct.
The transcript, which the CIA withheld from public view for half a century.
Last April's hearings brought Jefferson Morley full circle.
I'm actually optimistic that we can get to the bottom of this matter.
Testifying next to Oliver Stone, whose film first inspired him. Even without any startling disclosures, Morley is confident that hidden in a government document somewhere, there's a story waiting to be told.
People are expecting a blinding flash, a smoking gun. When you've been at this for a long time, you know, I'm not looking for a smoking gun. I'm looking to complete the picture.